for higher juicy news. Mema ubibia akwaba. Latest hot. Enkwa eramede bremo. Anuti bomodi ase obe subscribe to channel na wala give video give us a thumbs up. Na fi share ma wo foforo so na wenye bi hwe na wo ensemo a ekoso ewo Ghana memo hanum. Afi yembura ye ensemo a abeto yepono so. Inti yes report here about mama inti.
He's repositioning to join us, but also joining us on Zoom is Sammy Gyamfi. He is the CEO of Gold Board, and then to make this quick intervention on a number of things, some specific issues that you raised, and then also in direct response to that aspect of the IMF report. He's joining us on Zoom as well. Mr. Gyamfi, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred, and best wishes of the season to your esteemed panelists.
Thank you very much, and we wish you same as well. First of all, there's the statement that you put earlier in the week. You put out earlier in the week in responding to the IMF $214 million loss. I have read it in full. We've subjected it to some discussion. The question that Professor Bobkin and Professor Patrick Esuming asks is how you sell gold across all value chains and still make a loss. They want a clarification, and then also the pricing regime that you use specifically. Mr. Gyamfi.
All right, thank you very much. I think this is by far the most fundamental issue that I've heard anybody commenting on this matter raised so far. And so I intend to focus on it and explain. A special greetings to Prof. Bobkin, who taught me financial management during my EPM program at the University of Ghana. But before I do that, I think there are some preliminary issues that we need to clarify. The impression is being created by some, not your panelists per se, but by some, as though the Gold Board has made losses and is shying away from acknowledging that it has made losses. Alfred, the Gold Board is not a typical commercial venture established for the main purpose of making profits. The Gold Board is a strategic corporation with two objects: foreign exchange generation for the country and supporting gold reserve accumulation by the Bank of Ghana. And that is why, if you look at the Gold Board Act, nowhere in the Act is the word profit used, rather the word surplus is used. We are mandate-driven and not necessarily profit-driven. And so if we even make losses in the discharge of our mandate, we'll be very happy to concede that and to show how that loss came about and the benefits of that loss, if any. And so nobody is shying away from losses. Facts are sacrosanct. The Gold Board is barely 8 months old. Per Section 76 of the Gold Board Act, it took over the assets, liabilities, contracts of the defunct Precious Minerals Marketing Company. So for the first year that the Gold Board has been in operation, our financials are available. We have not made losses. We have rather made surpluses. And we have published our financials as required by law, our quarterly financials on our website. And anybody can go and check. So the IMF has not said the Gold Board has made losses, and it is important that we put that matter to rest. The Gold Board has not made losses. And if the Gold Board makes a loss, the Gold Board will not shy away from that. The reason why the lawmaker in drafting the Gold Board Act did not use the word profit and loss is because that is not the main object. You understand? And so why would we even shy away from that if we've made losses? We have made surpluses, and latest by February or March next year, when external auditors audit our books, that will Alfred,
yes.
the suggestion is being made that the Bank of Ghana is making losses and the Bank of Ghana is shying away from the losses. The Bank of Ghana says that the statement put out by the IMF that in their country reports that it made $240 million from January to September of this year under the Gold for Reserve program is speculative. It means the Bank of Ghana is shying away from losses. That is not true. Why? Bank of Ghana, why would Bank of Ghana shy? Bank of Ghana has been making consecutive losses. In 2022, it made a loss of 60.8 billion. In 2023, it made a loss of 10.5 billion cedis. In 2024, it made a loss of 9.4 billion. Nobody was crucified in this country. And so if all the IMF is saying is that Bank of Ghana has made a loss of $214 million, equivalent to $2.5 billion, that will even be a reduction of the recurring losses of the Bank of Ghana. Why would the Bank of Ghana run away from that? What the Bank of Ghana is saying is this. I have been in meetings with the Bank of Ghana and the IMF, in which the Bank of Ghana has told the IMF that there are issues of accounting and financial reporting surrounding the Gold for Reserve program, that it has referred to its external auditors for resolution, and that how those cost items are treated in the financials can impact the level of profits or losses. And so the IMF should exercise patience and allow its external auditors resolve the issues. And in that meeting, the IMF agreed. So we are not just saying that, oh, management accounts are not available, and that it is only when external audits are concluded that losses can be ascertained. No. They are critical issues of financial reporting and accounting treatment principles for the financials surrounding the Gold for Reserve program that the Bank of Ghana has discussed with the IMF. Their disagreements and same have been referred to its external auditors. And so all the Bank of Ghana is saying is that let that process conclude so that we can have a fair, balanced picture. The Bank of Ghana is not running away from any $214 million losses, which in any case is far lesser than the recurring losses the Bank of Ghana has been making in the last 3 years. Let's make that preliminary point also very clear.
Okay.
Now, you must understand that the gold board, like I said, is barely 8 months. Has this year now put in place the institutional framework for its operations and all that. Okay? So the Gold Board concept, as envisioned under the Gold Board Act, has not taken off. And I have put that on record already. But because the Gold Board took over the PMMC, the Gold Board inherited the PMMC's existing contract with the Bank of Ghana under the Domestic Gold Purchase Program, which basically is that, and will advance funds to PMMC, now Gold Board, as its agents to buy gold, assay the gold, and export the gold to off-takers of the Bank of Ghana. Now, this program started, as you are aware, in 2022. And when the program was being launched, this domestic gold purchase program was being launched, the object, the policy design was not for profit. And that is what I want my revered lecturer, Professor Bobkin, to understand. He says that why can't we, as a country, be able to sell gold and break even or make profit? No, that was not the policy design. To sell gold and make profit is easy. You just have to know your cost, and you just have to price at a discount that absorbs your cost and gives you a margin as profit. That is easy. Anybody can do that. But in 2022, when this program was being launched, the Bank of Ghana knew at the time that gold was already being bought in the open market by all manner of people, mostly foreigners, at the black market rate, the informal exchange rate, retail rate, if I can put it that way, and at the world market price, within a discount range of 1% to 2%. And you can ask any gold trader. That was how gold was being bought in 2021, 2022, 2023. That is how gold has always been bought.
I see.
So when Bank of Ghana was coming in, Bank of Ghana was not like Gold Board. PMMC did not have the market regulation and enforcement powers that the Gold Board has to deal with leakages and smuggling. And so the Bank of Ghana decided to use price to fend off smugglers so that it will get gold for FX, knowing very well that there will be an intrinsic cost or losses. And that is why on 1st December 2022, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, in his directives to gold traders as part of the rollout of the Gold for Oil program, at paragraph 4, announced that the PMMC will be buying gold for the Bank of Ghana at spot price. Spot price. Nobody buys gold at spot price for the purpose of making profit, because when you buy at spot, you can sell at spot. Dory is sold at discount to take account of freight, insurance, handling charges, to take account of commissions of buyers and all that. So you obviously run at a loss. But the policy justification was that we needed the forex so bad to bring about macroeconomic stability, the benefits of which will make that loss infinitesimal. That is the whole point. So it is not about somebody not having the ability to. Why did government scrap? You see, the NPP introduced a withholding tax of 3% on gold purchases in 2023. That was the year that gold output was the lowest in Ghana's history, owing to smuggling. 3%. It later reduced it to 1.5%. When the NDC came, we took the 1.5% tax from the price of Dory. Now, the cost on gold purchases is about 5%. So to say that you want to make profit means you have to buy gold at minimum 5% discount. That is almost double the tax that was introduced in 2023 that ensured that we lost all the gold and all the FX stayed in Dubai and India. And the Ghanaian became the poorer. The economy became the poorer. And so let's understand the policy from this perspective. Now again, to the most fundamental issue of pricing. Gold Board, and for that matter, Bank of Ghana, can be profit conscious and say, we want to price to make profit. We are pricing at 5% discount. That will help us to absorb all our costs and make us break even. But we know that once we do that, we will lose all the gold and there will be no forex to stabilize the currency. And when you lose control of your currency, you lose control of inflation, and cost of living will go up the roofs and your people will suffer. And so what do? We say, okay, what we will do is that we will change the exchange rate denominator in the price calculation from the historic retail rate, which has been used all these years, and bring it to interbank. Prof, by doing that, Gold Board has already discounted the local price of gold by more than 10% already. So to slap another discount on the world market price will make our price uncompetitive and only deepen the leakages and defeat the whole essence of the program. That is why we price this way. But we know that even if what the IMF is saying is true, that we've incurred costs, okay, of $214 million, even if that is true. Prof taught me economics. He knows that there is a cost to everything. If Ghana went to the Eurobond market to borrow $10 billion, we will be paying interest of not less than 10%, true or false.
Okay.
That is more than $1 billion. It comes $240 million comes nowhere close to that. By pricing this way and bringing $10 billion, the CD has appreciated by almost 35%. First time in Ghana's history since 2007. The inflation rate has reduced by 11 consecutive months from 23.8% to 6.3%. Food prices have gone down by 32%. In terms of savings to the country, let me tell you this, because in this country, we know the value of everything but the cost of nothing. Let me tell you the value. And
why you round up for me?
Yes, why I round up. For 2025, the government has spent $1.8 billion in servicing its external debt. Another $1.8 billion in paying IPPs. That is together $3.6 billion.
Okay.
If government serviced that $3.6 billion debt at an exchange rate of 15 cedis, which we inherited, without the intervention of Gold Board and what we are talking about today, the $10 billion inflows, it would have cost the country 15 billion cedis more. We would have to convert 15 billion cedis more to service that debt.
Okay.
I have not even spoken about the import bill. Let me tell you something. We are talking about January to September. The import bill from January to September 2025 is $11.8 billion. Do the math. If importers imported those goods at 16 cities, as compared to an average exchange rate of 12 cities, we would have lost an extra 52 billion cedis.
There are a number of things that you point to.
$240 million. That is why the Bank of Ghana, that is why the IMF itself is not able to say that the program is bad and that we should stop.
And in fact, the
IMF is saying, Alfred, just 1 second. What the IMF is saying is that it is fine. This is good. You have met your foreign reserve target for 2028 in 2025. It's unimaginable. We never even thought you could do this.
Right.
But we don't want the cost. IMF is saying we don't want the cost to sit in the books of the Bank of Ghana. And we have said that, okay, where should it sit? Whether it sits in the books of Gold Board or the Ministry of Finance, it is sitting in the books of Ghana.
Okay, so thank you.
We have now come up with reforms for 2026, because from 2026, Gold Board will now take off fully. And we have told the IMF that when we take off fully, some of these issues that you are concerned is impacting the books of Bank of Ghana will become a thing of the past.
Will be dealt with. So then that answers the question about the way forward.
The price mechanism that Gold Board will introduce.
Great.
But let's understand these issues.
Thank you very much, Sammy Gyamfi, for this. In fact, I asked those two questions, and then the explanation that we have got now. Prof. I'll come to you. The explanation that we've got now, does it bring some clarity and context to the issues? He mentions quite a number of things that addresses some of the issues that you raise. That there is a cost.
Have made me comment on the issue of galamsey and the environmental cost and that argument that Prof. Boakye made, because you see, it is very.
Okay, Sammy, I'll come to you on that.
The environmental cost and all that. Just 1 minute, I beg you.
Quickly,
You
in a second, because I need to move on. So
I beg you, just give me 60 seconds, time me. Prof, we know the environmental cost of mining. And that is why when we took over and there was no fight against illegal mining, we didn't maintain the status quo. Today there is a fight. LI 2423 has been revoked. Mining is no longer permissible in forest reserves. NIMOS is cracking down on illegal miners everywhere. You have seen the videos on TV3. This cannot be a government that sets up an institution like Gold Board to promote traceability. Gold Board, which has now made it a crime under Section 59 of our Act to buy for anybody, any of our licensees, to buy illegal mining gold. How can you say that institution promotes
I read the IMF report. The IMF report references. Sorry, the IMF report references this traceability you talk about. That it's a process that you are going to roll out going forward?
Is
it already in place that you're able to trace?
Ghana has been buying gold since the colonial eras. We are now being told that why haven't you introduced traceability in 8 months? When for how many decades we have not done? We have given you timelines by which this traceability program will be in place. And every gold bought by the state will be traced to its mine of origin, which must be a sustainable mine. And you want to crucify an institution that has been in office for 8 months. When people were doing gold for oil and gold for FX and all that, we didn't hear all these arguments.
Okay. Great. So there are a number of things that Sammy Gyamfi points out, and it's important because it brings some clarity or context to the issues. One, that there is a cost to everything, but then you square it up with the benefit of what is at stake. He references barely 8 months that the gold board has been in operation. He outlines the impact and benefits over the period. And then also, Professor Boakye, he says it's not a policy design of gold board to sell gold and make profit. That's number one. And he explains quite into some detail. And the institutional concept of gold board has not fully taken off as yet. And we will see the full fledging of it from next year. And there's been some timelines as well, especially because now we're getting some signal that they're going to take over the entire process, and the Bank of Ghana would have very little or nothing to do in the entire process. And the fact that they inherited the already existing contract between the Bank of Ghana and PMMC, even though there is now PMMC being transformed into gold board. And the fact that the Bank of Ghana decided to use pricing to fend off smuggling, okay? Knowing that there will be a cost or losses. So there's some sense of awareness that this was going to happen. But it was a pricing mechanism meant to address a particular challenge. Does that answer the issues for you? I'll start off with you, Lawyer Abdullah, and then
because
gentlemen, Prof. Gentlemen, because you haven't spoken on this. I was just saying now. You haven't spoken on it. So you take it up, and then I'll take the last comment from the two professors.
Yes. All right. So thank you, Alfred. I have been paying serious attention to all the discussions going on. For once, I enjoyed being a listener than being the one talking. And it's genuinely so because I cannot pretend to know it all. I am also a learner, and so it is humbling sometimes to know from the experts and then to know how you also guide your comment and your thoughts around some of these subjects. But outside of the technicalities, I was asking myself a number of questions. That we have an organization, an institution that has been set up for barely 9 months. And across the country, all stakeholders, everybody commends that institution for doing so well. And so my opinion was really that would a $200 million loss within the first year, assuming it was even the loss of gold board, I mean, however you want to look at it, be a basis to judge the quality of that institution? I think that would be a disservice if you rely solely on that. But luckily for us, nobody has made that judgment, value judgment, based on the basis of the 200 million. And so it's just a rhetorical with that response. And then looking at it from that angle, I also look at it from the other perspective. Would it be fair to say that on the basis of this 100 million, we are getting, 200 million loss, we are getting value for money? I think that if you look at it from that angle, I think the resounding response would be that indeed, yes, we are getting value for money. This is a very good institution, establishment that is getting us arguably one of the best benefits that we have ever had in our almost 70-year life as a country. Now, if all the answers are in favor of that institution and there are seeming difficulties, even if you rely on the losses alone, and without all the explanations coming from Sammy Gyamfi and all of that, would it be a fair argument to say that we reform, strengthen, and make this institution a better one for our collective good? If the answer is yes, then I'm all for it. In which case, then my argument is that let's do some amount of introspection, but not within 8 months. Obviously not. Maybe, I think to be fair, most institutions will do introspections maybe after 3 years, 5 years. That's what the economists probably call a medium term. But if in the short term, 1 year, you want to do some introspection to identify lapses, weaknesses, and to pluck all those lapses and weaknesses, and then strengthen the areas that you're doing so well in order to be able to gain so much of the institution's establishment. I think that would be a good way of assessing the situation than the narrative, in fact, that the unspoken narrative, making it look like, even though we are not saying you're bad, but you still appear bad in a way. And because, of course, unfortunately, cannot blame anyone because the entire gold board has a sister policy prior to that, which is the gold for oil, and how the heavy losses were incurred at the time. And so it is just normal to expect these feelings from Ghanaians and policy think tanks that, if you find these arguments coming from them, if you find these reservations coming from some of the comments, I think it's understandable. You shouldn't condemn them because we have experienced a way awful situation in the last few years. And so nobody would want a repetition of gold for oil in this quality one that we have established now. So I think that it is very disheartening. I mean, if you are in the shoes of the policymakers who established this gold for a gold board. Okay. It will be disheartening, but you should also genuinely assess the sentiment why people feel the way they do. Okay. And that if you can take that on board, I think we can better shape the gold gold board and make it a better institution for our collective good.
Which he has indicated that there's the institutional concept of gold board will be fully fledged.
However, in saying that, so I was saying in a few seconds, I was asking that I keep hearing the same narrative about artisanal mining. Now, how different are these from galamseyers? I mean, beyond the English, what's the difference between the two? So my question really is no. In fact, there's no difference. So you see, one is irresponsible mining. The other is supposed to be a regulated responsible mining. One is
responsible, not supposed to be.
But not supposed to be. It is supposed to be. Okay. My point here is this: if it is supposed to be, how far are we going with ensuring that it is indeed as regulated and responsible as it is, as it's supposed to be? Right. Now, if all those questions are not answered, we may be endangering ourselves in the quest to build a better country.
Professor Patrick, assuming just some quick responses to at least the intervention, and then Sammy Gyamfi responded to some of the concerns that you raised earlier, specifically about the pricing mechanism. He has explained the value addition, the pricing mechanism effect, and what the objective of the pricing mechanism was. So, and the fact that there was some awareness there was going to be some losses.
So I think that from the outset, there's been no condemnation of the gold board, what it stands for and what it's doing. So I think we should make that clear. But what we have to understand is that, as economists, economists have ways of counting costs, which tend to be more extensive than other people will. And so I think when you are valuing what you have done, and I think it seems to me that there's been a bit of a shift in position from the statement that was issued. The statement come across as a statement in defiance and questioning, for instance, saying it's not aware of any losses. I think that when institutions of state are doing things and people are making commentary. It shouldn't always be interpreted as an attack. After all, this is for the country of Ghana. So I think that, but when he says that, oh, yes, we knew there would be losses, and that, you know, the benefit outweigh the cost. Well, that's his view. That's his point of view. Because if we want to know the full value that we are getting from this program, it's accounting for this, and the IMF was very specific, trading losses and off-taker fees. All of that has to be put together before even the gold board put out their profit statement. Because at the end of the day, it is part of the whole arrangement that is generating the loss. The other loss that we haven't accounted for, yes, we've admitted it, but the environmental damage, and nobody is saying that the environmental damage started with the gold board. Yeah. But, you know, I think it's still a cost to society that we have to account for. So, you know, it's not a condemnation. I think the gold board itself would have helped itself if its initial reporting was also balanced. Because if we had this is what we have generated, this and this what has cost us, then also helps us to put everything in the proper context. So it's not a condemnation, but you know, you just have to be willing to accept that there are costs, and the country of Ghana have to decide how we deal with these costs.
All right.
As we are enjoying the benefit. We have to, so at the moment the cost has been shifted to the central bank. Is that the best way to deal with that? And I think it's a legitimate question for people to ask that these losses, where are they coming from? What can we do to minimize the losses? And because when we minimize the losses, after all, whatever benefit comes is for the whole of the country. So it's still a legitimate question. I think clearly the position that he's taking now, it seems a little different from what you read from just the statement that was put out.
Right. Prof. Boakye, just finally on this.
Thank you. I mean, I want to thank the CEO of Gold Board. I think he's done well. I started off by acknowledging the role of the Gold Board in crowding.
I don't think there's been any wrong condemnation.
Yeah, so government should not take it that we are opposed to that. I think there's a certain feeling also that we could do better within the whole landscape of responsible mining. Remember that in the run-up to 2024, even in the face of election, there was quite considerable level of agitation about galamsey, responsible mining. We even called for a state of emergency and all of that. Yes, I can understand that after election, that seemed not to be that popular now. But we have to, at the end of the day, sometimes when you are looking at cost-benefit analysis, the benefit may be now and you are seeing it, but the cost may be, and if we have lost a life, children are born with deformities and all of that, what benefit could be compared to life and all of that? And I'm also saying that we are not against Gold Board. I'm saying that Ghana, we should be able to do responsible mining after several decades of independence and all of that. And then also the point that we are making is that we need to insulate Bank of Ghana from fiscal and quasi-fiscal activities that impairs the balance sheet of Bank of Ghana. I think that is where the IMF is coming from. Okay. And we all understand that. And it's a reason, Alfred, is a reason under the 16th IMF program from April 3rd, 2015, with 1 year extension to April 2019, we reduced the deficit financing from 10% to 5% of government previous year's fiscal revenue, just to limit the exposure. Then under the current IMF program, we have resorted to zero financing. But there are other quasi-fiscal activities that are being loaded on the balance sheet of Bank of Ghana that looks like fiscal dominance is showing up. Okay. Even though we've gone through a lot to insulate the central bank. And I think this is good for the Bank of Ghana itself. Because you see, anytime we are outside IMF, Bank of Ghana become too susceptible to fiscal pressures. Okay. So anytime we're under IMF, that is also a shield.
Okay.
For the fund.
That's
so
right.
let's look at it from that perspective.
It is the broader perspective
yes,
or the context.
Of operational independence for the central bank.
Right.
Remember, the IMF program will be ending. In fact, technically, it was supposed to have ended December this year. There is 3-month extension, and perhaps all the review may conclude somewhere July. When we exit, there may be issues about whether Bank of Ghana can continue to maintain that independence we fought for, which is good for confidence and all of that. So let's look at it within that context.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, the IMF has requested that government considers a 3-month extension.
It's not IMF that requested. It's Ghana government that requested.
That's contrary to what I'm reading in this.
No.
In this
read the heading.
So
read the heading for the IMF report.
Because this
This
extension, because they said they want to because there are some targets that have been revised.
Because we did not meet some of those structural reforms within the program timeline, and we have shifted. Remember, it is Ghana government program being supported by the IMF. Okay, so you read the entire report. The request is from us. It has to come from us. Even though if the IMF asks for it, it has to come from us.
So I mean, when you look this particular review, the 5th review, I think it just you get a sense the IMF is a little more concerned than perhaps it was even in the 4th review.
So this is what the report says. I just wanted to pull that part of the report. It says the extension through August 16, 2026 would help reach an understanding of the policy supporting completion of the 6th review, while allowing sufficient time to prepare and circulate board documents. Proposed program modifications, the IMF proposing modifications to Ghana's current program, including changes to the indicative targets, that's ITs, and the monetary policy consultation clause. At the end of March 2026, the primary balance and non-oil, they give all of that detail, and essentially making the point that to the extent that there has been some modifications to the policy targets, an extension through August 2026 would help reach an understanding on the policy supporting completion of the 6th review.
Yes. So look at it. So read it. When you read the entire report and you read the executive director for Ghana and the submission and the technical memorandum of understanding, all of that, you see where this is coming from. So you just need to look at the whole picture. Remember, originally, it is Ghana government that requested for this program.
True.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We went to them.
We went to them. So all the arrangement is almost like coming from us, even though the IMF will also make suggestions that given the reform and all of that, I think, in fact, Alfred, I said this when the 2026 budget was presented, that I'm expecting a technical extension of about 3 months for us to wrap up well. I said this even before it was captured.
Indeed,
here.
that I remember.
And I referenced what happened in the case of Zambia, because Zambia also asked for 3-month extension to wrap up. Usually the structural reforms is a bit complex. To design and implement. So this is to be expected. Remember when the NPP took over in 2017, there was a 1-year extension of that particular program. Okay, because otherwise, normally after election excesses, usually you need to do a lot to bring the program back.
Thank you very much.
And all of that. So this is normal.
Professor Ming,
yes.
quickly, finally on this.
So I will just say that I think, first of all, I know the president had been absolutely adamant that the program will not be extended.
True.
I think we should view this particular extension slightly differently. It's not the extension of a year where we were struggling to meet indicators. The macroeconomic targets have been met and exceeded. But the concern is that the underlying reforms that will ensure that these are sustained have delayed. And several of them have been missed. And, and it cuts across all sectors. In fact, there was a portion where it sort of criticized the Bank of Ghana for continuing multiple currency practices. And all of these are there. It tells you there are issues related to, corruption. The part about how to deal with declaration of assets and code of conduct for public sector workers. All of these have been delayed. And I think clearly what it means is that by the time there's a staff level agreement on the sixth and final review, there are certain reforms and documentations will not be ready. I think that's why there's this suggestion, whether it came from the government or it came from the IMF. It's obvious that there's going to be a 3-month extension. But I think it shouldn't be viewed in a negative light.
Not at all.
It should not be viewed in a negative light at all. Yes. It's to make sure that we finish properly.
And wrap up.
And hopefully this time we will not be returning at all or not soon.
Thank you. Professor Patrick Asuming, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Like and share the video. You can also drop your comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell to turn on the notification.